I've often wondered who these sorts of posts are targeted at.
Not you, that's for sure.
So, penalty rates helped Albo get through uni. Sure. Do you know what else probably helped a little bit? The fact that when Albo was a young fella, university was free. That's right. Higher education was free in Australia from 1974 until 1989. A fact that around half the people visiting this channel may not be aware of for the simple fact that they were either not born yet or were too young to know much of anything besides what time you needed to be home from school so as not to miss the start of Monkey.
The nature of Monkey was irrepressible.
The Whitlam Labor government abolished tuition fees for students at universities and technical colleges from the 1st of January 1974. That lasted all the way through until 1989 when the Hawke Labor government introduced HECS and began reintroducing university fees. Uni fees have grown progressively more expensive ever since. So that Bachelor of Economics degree from the University of Sydney that young Albo got for free in 1984, that would cost you over $50,000 if you were to start it today. But it's not just the free uni that young Albo benefited from.
I know what it's like.
Based on his often retold origin story, he also benefited from the availability of public housing.
I grew up in public housing in the inner city of Sydney as the son of a pensioner. I grew up in a council house in Camperdown, the only son of a single mum on the disability pension.
A roof over your head is so important. I grew up in public housing with a single mum. I had the security of knowing that I had that roof over my head.
The reality is, today, he'd probably have found it a little bit harder to put a roof over his head. Public housing, as distinct from the social and affordable housing you'll often see referred to whenever the government talks housing, is directly government owned, the type of housing that young Albo relied on. It's also the type of housing that's in steady decline. And there's nothing the government have announced last term or so far this term that looks to turn that decline around. And if you're a student on youth allowance, well, good luck finding a rental in 2025. According to the most recent Anglicare rental affordability report, there were no rental listings affordable for a single person on youth allowance in their 2025 study. Look, don't get me wrong, protecting penalty rates is undoubtedly a good thing. It's just this stuff.
You know, that really grinds my gears.
I mean, if the PM's social media team are trying to remind the public that Albo is of the generation that, after getting ahead, pulled the ladder up behind themselves, then this sort of thing is a great way to go about it. While nowadays free higher education might sound like Fantasyland stuff, it doesn't necessarily have to be, not if the government's prepared to demonstrate a shovel full of ambition. As a reminder, currently the government is taking more from students through HECS than it collects from the Petroleum Resources Rent Tax.
Consider the fact that in Norway, they tax the fossil fuel industry and they give university education to their kids for free. In Australia, we subsidise the fossil fuel industry and we charge our kids a fortune to go to uni. Choices matter. And the Australian government collects more money from HECS than it does from the Petroleum Resource Rent Tax. Thank you, children. You're the backbone of our economy, not the gas industry.
The government could look overseas to countries like Norway, and just imagine a world where the Australian government took a leaf out of a country like Norway's book and taxed the fossil fuel industry rather than subsidising it. Imagine what the money could be spent on. I mean, free higher education could be an actual possibility and not just something that boomers neglect to mention when looking back on their youth.